Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today is left off last word, top line of Masechah Sota, and away we go. Hamakana Ishto. Now, Sota works. The basic premise is a man. He warns his wife. He's suspicious of her. He warns her not to be secluded with an individual, and then she is then witnessed, or we'll see, being with the said individual. And then from there, she would go ahead and basically she would be forbidden to her husband until she goes ahead and drinks the Sota waters, which tests her innocence. All right. So now, Hamakana Ishto, one who goes ahead and warns his wife. This is the warning part. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Mikana lo al pi shnai mashka al pi echad al echad. He needs two witnesses for warning her. But however, umashka al pi echad al pi atzmo. But if one person sees her in seclusion with with the warned individual, right? If he warns her about Shimon, and someone else witnesses her in privacy, right? In a place where no one else is, just her and Shimon, or even he himself, that could now force her to be ushered to him until she goes ahead and tests, gets tested through the Sota waters. Rabbi Shua says, he says, no, it's 2 and 2. So Rabbi Shua is 2 and 2, and Rabbi Eliezer is 2 and 1. Now, how does he go ahead and warn her? He says, heard in front of 2 people. Do not go ahead and speak, right? Tidabri normally means, right, speak with ish ploni. And then she speaks with him. Right? So such a case, in other words, she was not in privacy with him, so therefore she's not forbidden to him. And if she was married to if she was married to a Kohen, right, and she's still able to go ahead and eat truma. However, if however she went with him in seclusion, and she remained with him in order the time for tuma, right, which is techilas bia hara, right. So a certain time for bia, asura lebesa, she is now forbidden to her husband, right, until she is tested by the waters. And she cannot go ahead and eat truma because she's a woman who was, if she was married to a Kohen, she was defiled or suspicious of that. And if the husband died in such a case, then then she only does chalitza. Right, only does chalitza, and cannot marry the brother, because we cannot assume that she was muteres to her husband for the husband's brother to go ahead and take her in marriage.
Process stops.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's right. No, right, yeah. Because then it says she goes back to her husband, but there's no husband to go back to. Right. Fine, but that will the Gemara will get to later on.
And the brother doesn't bring her to the Beit Hamikdash.
But for Sota, right? That's Alanas, right? Right. I mean, the Gemara doesn't say it, but she says clearly not evil. We'll have to inspect. Let's take a look at this. Tana Nazir Salik my Tana Tana Saita. Oh, so last time we were just learning about Nazir, right? As we all recall. So why did we go ahead with Sota? So go answer because the Rebbe, like Rebbe says, the Tanya, Rebbe Yaimir, Rebbe says, Lama Nitzvah Parshas Nazir, the Parsha Sota. Why is there the juxtaposition of the Parsha of Nazir to the Parsha of Sota in the Torah, right? Which then we could go ahead and translate and say, okay, we'll put the Gemaras together. Anybody who goes ahead and sees a Sota, right, on her way, right, and the process of a Sota will say, what brought upon this? This was, drinking, and then they'll go Yazir Atzim Nayayin. Then they'll go ahead and they'll basically swear off wine. I won't drink, and become a Nazir. So therefore, the two of them are together. If that's the case, we say Saita, the Lisni Nazir. Well, if that's the case, then the order should be: you see a Nazir, you see a Sota, then you become a Nazir. Sota over here, we should learn Sota first, and then Nazir. So Gemara says, no, I did Ksubas, since we had, if you remember, we did Ksubas, that was several months ago, right? And over there, after that, Tani Hamadir, and towards the end, the Ksubis ended off with Hamadir, right? That Hamadir, which has to do with also Nadarim. So therefore, Tani Nadarim, therefore Nadarim follow that. And since we went to Nadarim, Tani Nazir, so a lot of the halachas of Nazir and Nadarim are together. So therefore, we did Nadarim, Nazir after Nadarim. And then once that, by default, we use everything else. But Tani said the Rebbe. And then we want to have Sota nearby, like Rebbe said. Fine. 2 dots. Smack in the page of base of enough. Hamakana says one who went ahead and warned. So it sounds like Diavad in the Chachila low. Only B'diavad does not sound like a good thing, as we'll soon see at the end of today's blot mitzvah Shabbat. It doesn't sound like a good thing. But the Chachila one should not go ahead. Causes strife. Right? That's us to go ahead. It's not a good thing. It's only if one goes ahead and had warned her. Not necessarily one should go ahead and warn his wife. When Reish Lakish would begin teaching the Maseches Sota, Amar Haki Ein Mezavgid Lo La'adam Isha El Lafi Masa. Right, a person is not set, with his wife. He's not sent to basically a wife, but only according to his actions. Right, he's a tzaddik, then he'll get one is a tzedekes, and if he's not, then he'll get someone who's Russia. Shenamar, the pasuk says, "Kilo yinuach shevet Russia al gadol tzadikim." Right, there won't be a Russia won't live amongst the tzadikim. Right, the staff of the Russia. In other words, we won't. Hakadosh Baruch Hu won't place a Russia in the house of a tzaddik. And Amar Rabbi Chanan Rabbi Yechanan v'kasher l'zagin k'kres Yamsuf. And also it says Rabbi Yechanan, right? Zivug being a zivug is as difficult as Kres Yamsuf. Shenamar, the pasuk says, right? Elokim Moshe Yechidim Beisa. Right, it says when they bring them, right, individuals together, i.e., like a shidduch, right, and therefore they set them out. The kashas during a nice time during the spring. During the spring was when they went out during spring is reference to Yetzias Mitzrayim. So therefore, Yetzias Mitzrayim is compared to making shidduchim. So Gemara says, "Eini, is this so that only a good is with a good and a bad is with a bad?" Before 40 days before the creation of the Vlad, Bas Kol Yitzas Veimeres Bas Ploni Leploni and Bas Ploni Leploni. It says who's going to marry who. So people aren't predestined to be good or bad, right? So how can both be true, right? How could it be that Russia will not, will only marry Russia if it's predetermined? Mm-hmm. And so the Ploni Leploni. And also, so this girl will marry this guy, and this I lost the place, and there's a house, right? And this house will go to this guy will have this house, and this field will go to this field. Like Kasha, Hab Zugrishan, Hab Zugsheni. When it comes to the Zugrishan, that's predetermined, right? Zugsheni, that's when a person gets to what he's deserved. Fine. Rabbi Eliezer says now. So Rabbi Eliezer says 2 and 2, right? That's the order, right? The first order is the stira, right? Do not go ahead and seclude yourself. And the second witnesses, or one we'll call the warning, right? The first is the 2 witnesses, and then there's witnesses or witness for the seclusion. So Rabbi Eliezer says 2 and 2. Excuse me, he says 2 and 1. 2 and 1. So ad kanli pali lo pligi al bekina vestira. Only here only time bekina vestira. Aval betuma aid echad mehem. However, when it comes to tuma, then one person's believed. Now, what does it mean by tuma? In other words, let's say she's warned that she goes into seclusion, and then you have one witness who witnesses her not in seclusion, but sees that she's being matama.
She's in seclusion too.
Yeah. My sabia. Violent seclusion, right? My sabia. So even though normally you need 2 witnesses, let's say, to go ahead and penalize somebody, right? Death penalty, right? Or whatever, right? Whatever the case is. So over here, one witness, our mission doesn't say anything about it, is good enough to say, you know what, she was matama. And in such a case, the woman is not killed, but what does she have to do? She has to leave her husband, right? Doesn't get a ksuba, and there's no sota waters. The sota water is only to test whether innocent or guilty. We know you're guilty, even by 1. So l'chayra are right, and l'chayra, right? So we're, everyone agrees with 1. You also going to somewhere else. So we also learn somewhere else. If one witness says, I saw that she was nitmes, she was actually nitma, right? Then she does not drink because she's already guilty. Now, how do we know that deraisa that one is believed here? The Tan Rabbanan. It says the aid ein ba, right? So the pasuk over there, we're going to be darshan this pasuk of one of the pasuk Yud Gimel, right? It says v'shachav ish isa. No, excuse me. Yes. V'shachav ish isa shechazera v'nela meina isha. Right, so it says that she was with she was with another man, with another person, and she was not in front of her husband. Right, the spirit of Nistera, and she was in seclusion. He nitba, and she was nitma. The aid ein ba, and there was no witness. She wasn't forced. Now the aid ein ba says b'shnayim kasam adaber. Notice there was no aid. And what aid perhaps refers to two witnesses, and therefore there was not two witnesses. There was only one. Right, and she wasn't forced. So, or maybe it means that there was no witness at all. So therefore it says we have another pasuk in another place. It says lo yakum eid echad beish. It says one witness shall not go ahead and stand up and testify against his fellow man. Now turn the page. It says the word aid, not aidim. So why does it say eid echad? Just say eight, right? Why you have to say eight echa, right? I don't know what's one. It says eight. It's singular, not plural. So why say echa? So zebanav. So I come to teach you. Call malcolm shenamar eight. So anytime it says eight, harekan shayim. It actually refers to two. Until it says specifically one. The Yamar Achmana, and therefore in our case it says trey lesba. It says there are no two witnesses in our case, right? There were not two witnesses. She was nitma elachad. Right, rather there was only one witness, and not the red nose. The pasuk says there was not two, meaning there was one. And she was not forced, and therefore one witness, and she wasn't forced. She did it willingly. Asura, then she's asur. So it says Ella Tam the Chsiv lo yakum eid echad beish halav hachi. Understand? Only because we were baina av over there. Only because over there it says we learn eid echad. Right? I would have thought I would have thought that this case over here, in other words, there was no witness, it was not one witness, right? There was nobody. Right? Well, then how it should be usher? There's nobody there, right? There's nobody testifying that she did anything. So I understand the Hamid. If there was nobody there, then how it should be us? Obviously, you need somebody there to testify, right? So no, you still need Sagudas. I mean, aid ain't ba, aid neman ba, right? No, maybe that what it means. It says when it says aid and ba, it means that he would not even mean. Maybe it meant that even one is not believed. In other words, you need two, right? If aid ain't ba, there's one witness and one is not believed. Maybe that's what I thought.
That's to the Nistera.
This is to the Tuma, Nitma. This is to the Nitma. This is all going in the Nitma. Elamai, right? So if that's the case, you're telling me that one is not good enough. So the Elamai, boy, so what do you need? So Adika Trey. So until you need two witnesses. So Lishta Kramine. Let the pasuk clear, just not say anything. Da'asya Davar Davar Mimamon. And then we can learn a Gzera Shava of Davar also case of Mammon, right? Which we learn out over there. You need two witnesses. It should be like any other Edis in the Torah, right? In other words, every other Edis in the Torah, how many you need two. So over here, so one is not believed. Why do I need a pasuk to tell me that one is not believed? Two is believed. The pasuk should just be quiet. If there's two witnesses that she's nitma, then she's also their husband. So right? You might think that a sota is different. The reglaim ledavar. In other words, maybe this case is different, as Alan pointed out earlier. It was the reglaim ledavar. Shahrei kinala v'nisra. Maybe over there in this case, she was born. Stay away from Shimon. Then she was witnessed. She was in seclusion with Shimon, and then she was witnessed by one that she was nitmace with him, that she actually had relations with him, right? So shahrei kinala v'nisra. Therefore, one should believe. You mean Matzah Marta, the aid Naman Bava Sharia, right? And would you be able to say that is not believed, right? And mutter. It says over there, in other words, why would you think the other way? It says she wasn't forced, right? Michlal, that if she was forced, right? No, it's meaning that she wasn't forced, because she wasn't forced. She's mutter. Michlal, that she wasn't forced. Michlal dasura, right? Then she would have been usur, right? So therefore, you can't say that since in this case that even one would be usur. So it says no, Yitzchak, he's still in Salgadai and a nemen ba adi katre, right? Maybe that when it says that it's not believed, it was until there's two. Ubetrayed nami, he loyalties passed. Only the case of when she was not forced is telling you in the case of two people. In the case of two people, they testified against her, and only if she wasn't forced. So therefore, we have to be binyan av to say that aid and bud does not mean there was not one witness, right? Rather, what's coming to teach you is that there were not two witnesses, but rather one. If there was one witness to her being nitmes, then we say that she is usher to her husband, and one witness is sufficient in this case. Fine. That was, we didn't get into the machlokes yet. That was just why our Mishnah doesn't argue on nitmes, because everybody agrees, Kuliyam agrees that after after Kino and Stira, that if there was one witness to witness her having relations with that man, then she is usher labal and she must get divorced. Now, Rabbi Shua and also these are al pishnayim, right? Both of them is 2 and 2 according to Rabbi Shua. My time of the Rabbi Yeshua. What's the reason for Rabbi Yeshua? Towards the end of the skinny lines and the Beis Amud Beis. So my time, the Rabbi Yeshua, Amar Krai Pasuk says. So it says ba, right? Right? There is no ba. So ba b'loy b'kinoi, right? In other words, over here, only in that case, right? There's one, right? But not ba b'loy b'kinoi. In other words, by nitmes, you need only one, but this case, v'loy b'kinoi, but not with a warning. In other words, the warning you need two, and ba and nitmes you only need one. V'loy b'stira, and in case and when they're in seclusion, also one is not good enough. You need two, so therefore it's a dig for the pasuk of ba. Rabbi Yezer Aimer, ba v'loy b'kinoi. So he says no. The only case that we don't need two is just the case. Excuse me, where. The case where you do need to is in the case of the warning, but the seclusion says Rabbi Eliezer, you can only need he only darshans the word ba once.
We just were arguing earlier that Rabbi Eliezer was talking about actual tumah.
No. Rabbi Eliezer, our Mishnah did not discuss tumah. So our Mishnah said there's a machlokes.
What was the discussion?
That was the Gemara. That was the diuk from the Mishnah. The Mishnah did not discuss Tuma. It discussed Kinui and Stira. There was no Tuma. So we're saying there's no machlokas by Tuma. Everybody agrees one is sufficient. So one is sufficient in that case. And our Mishnah, everybody agrees that ba v'loy b'stira, right? That we v'lo b'kinui. That everyone agrees that by kinui you need two people to warn her. Just the machlokas of whether you also darshan ba v'loy b'stira. Right, Rabbi Shua darshan that, Rabbi Eliezer did not. He only says you only need one by that case. The aim of ba v'loy b'stira. Rabbi Eliezer, why don't you darshan also ba and not stira? In other words, by stira, you also go ahead and you require two, and when they're in seclusion. So he says, no, stira is kish the tuma. Stira is compared to tuma. Did you see the pasuk says v'nisra v'hi nitma? Right, she was in seclusion and she was nitmes. Kinoi nami is kish, but there's also they're written close to the pasuk. Even the warning in the tuma, it says the tuma dechsiv the kanas isha v'hi nitma. Right, he warned his wife and she was nitmes. So you see, there's also a hackish between those two. So Gemara says, no, help me, ba. No, there was already a miyat from the Gemara that says ba. So one obviously you're including and one you're excluding, right? Why are you requiring two by stira, but only one? Okay, two by kinui, but only one by stira. Omar writes, so mistavra stira adif, right? The stira is adif shechein aisasa katuma, right? Because that's the what, and ultimately, right? That's what ultimately answers her like tuma. So he says, adarabba kinui adif. No, she needs two witnesses like kinui. Shechein ikar garam shechein ikar garam lo. All right. So he said because that's the one that causes it. The warning is what caused the whole process. He says, well, you love stira kina miika, right? Well, even if you warned her, right, if they were never seen seclusion, then this never would occur. Vilav kina stira, vilav kina stira my honey. Well, if there was no warning, then even being seclusion does nothing. Safilu hachi stira adifa. No, the stira is more important for you to need two. The adifa the chilasa the tuma because that's the beginning of the tuma of the tuma.
It's hard to learn out.
We're on my class, easier.
To because it's stira.
Maybe I left them there.
Because the seclusion is going to end up being the reason why she's going to be drinking the something water.
Right, but if she was never warned, right?
So warning that's very important, but stira it's
They're both. That's
both very important.
Right, they're both needed, but ultimately they want to say that the stira.
Or one from other.
That the kinui came first, and therefore the kinui is more chashav. It's more chashav. Therefore, that one requires two. What are you looking for, Jackie? Okay. You okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, adida tuma here. Now, umasnisen. It's fine. So that was that. Now, umasnisen deloy kiaitan. Our Mishnah is not like the following time. The Tanya, we learned about Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, Aimer. So he says, now remember, till now we had 2-2 or 2-1, right? Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, Aimer, Meshum Rabbi Eliezer, Hamakan Ishta. Now Rabbi Eliezer, where our Mishnah says was 2-1. Mekan Ishta, Mekan al pi echad or al pi atzmo, or mashkal al pi shnayim. Instead of saying 2-1, he says 1-2. In other words, the warning can be by either him or one witness. You don't need two for that. You need two for the seclusion. That's what this is Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda's interpretation of Rabbi Eliezer. Say Shiva Chacham Divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Ein Davar Saif, and then they replied to him in that brisa. Well, there's no end to the matter. We'll soon see what that means. Now, my time to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. What's we go to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda? The pasuk says, "But." So we learn over there same drasha, "But v'lei b'stira." So it says over there, "But," right? Only in this case is the only one, but not b'stira. But by the stira, you need two witnesses. So there was some breakdown in the Masorah as to what Rabbi Eliezer said, right? So it's so in other words, they learned in other words, the drush of the ba was going in the stira. But maybe it's on the kino, maybe the kino needs to, not the stira. So kino is kisha tuma. So now we say no, kino is compared to tuma. The kanas isha nitma. As we saw earlier, it's the same pasuk over there. It says he warned his wife that she was nitme. So therefore, the two are comparable. So therefore, just like by tuma, as we said earlier, you could only need one. So too, but the warning only need one. Stira namis because tuma. We also have a pasuk where stira and tuma are in the same pasuk. The pasuk says v'nistera v'hi nitma, right? And she was in seclusion and she was in tzbeya. Hahu lekama shir stira. Over there, it's coming to teach something else. It's coming to teach you that what is the amount of time for a stira? That's kadei tuma. That's why those two are linked. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef Yehuda stands as is, and then says Hashiv Chacham Divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Ein Davar. So there's no end to the matter. So my what does that mean? The zim in delay kani. So perhaps sometime he won't warn her. The Omar kani, and he'll say I warned her. Right? He'll make it up. Right? Well, what do you mean? Let's look at our Mishnah, right? According to Mishnah, is there a davar sov? Zivnim delay istatar of Amar Isader. Perhaps, right? He'll warn her, do not be with Shimon. Then, she's okay, fine. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he says, I saw her with Shimon. Yeah. She has to drink, and he has no proof. It's just him. So why can't you say Ein davar sov in that case? Why is it any different? Some Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yochanan af l'divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda ein l'davar sav. No, it means even according to Rabbi Yosef, not only in our Mishnah, but even in this case. So it says af l'divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. In other words, in our case, af l'divrei Rabbi Yosef Yehuda v'loy b'boy l'mishaseinu. And therefore, in other words, that's we're saying we don't need our Mishnah because the Rabbi Yosef Yehuda and the davar sav. Other opposite the Mishnah seinu ikar, right? Hatzam like ikar, right? According to our Mishnah, right? So therefore, according to our Mishnah, we'll say that the main part, right? In other words, that even the beginning, the whole thing starts off, right? That what's it called? The whole thing starts off. It could be only by one. In other words, the bigger chiddush case of Rabbi Yehuda, and not the bigger case in the Mishnah. It should be opposite, right? That's the ikar. Right, so the Mishnah say no ikar, right? Our Mishnah is ikar, hatzam like ikar, but over there it was not the main part, the warning. So al itmar hachi itmar. Right? You want to say like this? I'm Rabbi Yosef, I'm Rabbi Yechon. L'div Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, af the Mishnah say no ein l'davar sof. Because according to Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, who says, hey, In other words, that yes, a guy can go ahead and make it up. So even in the case of the Mishnah, he could also make it up if he already warned her with witnesses. But now according to Yehuda, right, he can start off the whole thing by making it up. And Amar Rabbi Chanina Misura lo lema inish leisis abazman hazeh leitisri bahadi ploni. A person should not go ahead and say during these times, do not go ahead and be in seclusion with Shimon without witnesses, right? But you don't even need witnesses, right? Why? Because Dilma, right? Perhaps we hold Rabbi Yehuda, Damar Kinu Al Piatzma, who says that Kinu Al Piatzma works. And then she goes right in seclusion with this guy, and he warned her. And therefore, there's no way for her to prove her innocence. And therefore, therefore, she's asked her husband, and Amar Reish Lakish Ma Lashon Kinoi. What is Lashon Kinoi? So now, separate matter. So Davar Matil Kina Beina Lebein Acher. Right, something that creates kina, I guess, jealousy or strife. Right, strife between ill will between her and others. Alma, what do you see from here? Oh, between ill will and her and others. Alma, Savar must be, he holds Kina Piatzmo. Maybe because a person can go ahead and just warn her himself without anybody else there. The Kuli Amalayadi, nobody else will know that he warned her, the Kanila that he warned her. And they'll say, my dekabali. And then they'll see in this case that she's going, she's basically staying away from everybody, right? Everyone's going to notice it. And therefore people are going to stay away from her. So this is going to cause strife. No one's going to know that he warned her. That's why she was like, okay, I can't go near anybody because he warned me, he's going to warn me again, and I'm just going to stay away from everybody. So that everyone is like, okay, she's not a nice person. It creates ill will. So this court must be that one could be Mekan al Piatzro. Rav Yemer bar Rav Shlomo Mishmei Dabai Omar Davar Hamata Kina Lebeino Lebeino. No, cause a strife between him and her. Alma Savar Kina Al Pishnayim. That you need to go ahead and have two witnesses. Al Pishnayim Eidim. The Kuli Alma Yadi, and everybody knows because it's two witnesses. So the matter gets publicized. The Kanila that he warned her. And therefore should be upset with him, right? And therefore they'll be angry with one another. Alma. So what do you see according to this shita? Alma Ksavi the Asr the Kana, right? It's us to go ahead and kino because it's not a good thing. It creates strife. Well, just real quick, according to the other opinions, we saw that it's not necessarily usher. So if it's not usher, right? It's not a bad thing. It's not strife. So what is he does? What's the lashon kinui? Samarav Nachman Bar Yitzchak and kinui el lashon hasra. Right? No, it's just a lashon of warning. Hashem made a warning from his land. So you see that kina is warning and not necessarily creating kina, causing strife. All right, we'll stop here. With Hashem. So Sunday, let's go back to 6:45. We'll play it out.